I'm now going to talk with Mr. Robert Durdle of Bonavista. Vista. Bob was a member of the Royal Rifles of Canada during World War II. He was captured as a prisoner of war in Hong Kong on December the 25th, 1941. I'm going to ask him a few questions about it. He has a story to tell. But first of all, I'd like to know, you along with your regiment were fighting before you were captured by the Japanese.
Oh.
Could you tell us something about that?
Yes, well, our barracks was on the mainland in Chapo. And a Sunday afternoon, we were transferred over from the mainland to Hong Kong. That was on a Sunday afternoon. And a Monday morning, the Japanese came over and bombed the airport, and the 2 or 3 planes that they had there, they destroyed them. And first we were then up in the hills in our pillbox, as they call it. And they came over and they went to our barracks that I suppose they thought we were there in the barracks, and they bombed that. First of all, we couldn't believe it, you know. We just couldn't believe it that we were, the war was started in Hong Kong. Anyway, we were taken, our section, were taken down to this, on the back of a monastery. And we guarded, we had a searchlight there that used to shine on the beach on the back of the monastery. And we were there so many days, and they had their trenches. The trenches were all dug, and you could walk around, and until the Japs landed on Hong Kong. And when the Japs landed on Hong Kong, I don't remember the dates right off now, but when they landed there, we were taken from there and taken out to in the vicinity where the Japs landed. Anyway, Fred Drover, also a Newfoundlander and living in Claremont at the present time, Fred and I were attached to this section of the regiment as stretcher bearers. We took a course in first aid, and we were attached as stretcher bearers. And Fred and I was taken off the stretcher out of the truck when a tracer bullet passed through the 2 of us. And Fred said, "What's that?" So I said, "Well, we can get out of here, you'll find out what it is." Anyway, we were taken in, and we were went across a long bridge marching, and the Japanese came over, and we could see the pilots in the plane. I suppose he must have thought that we were Japs, as he could come down and machine gun every one of us and kill every one of us. Anyway, we went on, and we were up on this mountain. We were supposed to go up to the top part of this mountain. And on our way up, because Hong Kong was all hills and mountains, on our way up they were shelling us. And the shells used to come into the side of the mountain, and to be rock, turf and mud and everything else. And anyway, we finally reached to the top. Now there was a road there, around there, we were supposed to be guarding. And it started to rain. And boy, when it rains over there, it rains, I tell you. And Fred Drover and I, we were picked to go on the first guard. And we had brown sheets where you can make a rainfall of them. In fact, maybe you've seen it, like a cave. We spread one in under us and one on top. And boy, the rain just come down. And we were soaking. And anyway, after the darkness passed away and daylight come, it started to get beautiful. The sun started to shine out, and it wasn't long before we dried up, because the temperatures at that time was in the 70s and the 80s. It wasn't long before we got dried up. Anyway, we were there for a while, and then we went on to another hill. We made our retreat, I suppose it was. Anyway, we were there for a couple of days and nights, we dug in. And this evening, Lieutenant Tarn, he was our commanding officer with us, he wants some volunteers to go for rations. And he got, I think he won 3 or 4. Anyway, he wanted one more, and I offered to go. And he said, no, we can't let you go because we need you just in case something happens. So anyway, on the last one, he said, okay, you can go. And on our way from where we were at our position, we got under fire by a sniper. And we crawled and crawled through the trees and the bushes and all as it was. We got down to the what was it, cooking stations, only just temporary stations. They used to move, you know, every now and again. Anyway, the old cook had stew. Of course, we eat what we want before we left there. And then he filled up the 2 canisters, and we took them on our back and went on up to where we left. Anyway, we thought that on our way back we were going to be under fire again. But nothing happened. We got back, but when we got back to where we had our positions dug in, the Japs were after attacking us. But it was getting dark now, and that's the most time that the Japs used to attack. Daylight and darkness, eh? Anyway, we were there under fire all night. Of course, you were firing, but you couldn't see what you were firing at. Machine guns, and they were sending over mortars, and they had a trench mortar that it was powerful. It was about a 7-inch. And they used to send those trench mortars over, and they go down in the valley to pass over us. So we were at it all night. I know we had 400 rounds of ammunition, that's what you carried, eh? And in the morning I had 1 clip left. Of course, everybody was running out of ammunition. So, Lieutenant Tarn to give orders that we would retreat. And it was in a bad place, he said, to make a banner charge because it was on the hill, side of a hill, and he wouldn't make no way getting up there. Anyway, we went down to headquarters, and there were some milk cans around. Boys were just punching the milk cans and drinking the milk. Anyway, he had orders to go back to take over the position again. Now, in the rainy season over there, they got reservoirs, see, up in the mountains, like big lakes. And this was one that was leading into the main one. And we got down in that one. And they were sending up, our men were firing up from Stanley, and the Jets were firing down, and the bullets, they were crossing like this. Well, I mean, Canadian officers always goes ahead, eh? When the British officers marches behind. Well, he said, come on, he said, men, we gotta go, we got a job to do, we gotta do it. And I can see him now going up the hill on Evers with just a pair of shorts on. He's only a young man, 23-year-old. He was married a month or 2 before he went overseas. And he was the finest kind of a fella. Anyway, we went up, and we took up our positions that we left. And when the other part of the section went over to take up theirs, the Jets was already there and dug in. And they started at us, eh? They started at us, and Lieutenant Tarn was on my right, and Sergeant Powers, I don't know if that's the right name, was on my left, and I was in the center. And there was little trees there, about like our blueberry trees, and that's where we had dug in behind them. And they started. Anyway, Lieutenant Tarn, he got killed on my right. Got shot in the head and he just fell over and I was off. And I said to Sergeant on my left, I said to him, Lieutenant Tarn got it. And he got up and kneeled up or something, look or see, and he got it. And I was in the center. And a little while after that, I got it. I suppose it was the same, it was from the same, well, I don't know if you call it a sniper or what you call it. It was from the same man anyway, I suppose. They got the 3 of us. Anyway, I got knocked out, went out unconscious. And when I come to, I had sense enough not to stand up. So I rode down the hill with my left arm paralysed, where the bullet carried away the shoulder blade. And I looked down the valley, and I saw some of the men down there. And I was wondering, you would look to see if it was chaps or if it was our men. So anyway, I made out it was fellows from our regiment. And I went down, and Fred Drover was there among them. And Fred said, "Oh my Bob," he said, "I stepped over you, I thought you were dead." I said, "Yes, boy, I was dead at that time when you stepped over me." Anyway, I got some thirsty, no water, got thirsty. I come to a little, I suppose in the rainy season, the water runs down this valley, and some water. I took in a load there of steel water, and one of it didn't kill me, you know. Anyway, I went on, and we come to the barbed wire fence. And a barbed wire fence, he put up this opening there sometimes to cross through, eh? And I got through there, and I went down to the first aid station. And they give me a drink, I don't know now if it was whiskey, brandy, gin, or what it was. Anyway, I drank it. And the ambulance come along, and they put me on the ambulance and took me to the hospital. And in that hospital, it was only a temporary hospital. It was a college. St. Stephen's College it was called, and they turned it into a temporary hospital for emergency. And that's what they took. They had the operating room there, and they took the bullet out. And after I got out of that operating room, about 20 minutes, a shell come right down through the operating room and killed a couple of doctors and orderlies, and well, we was expecting the next shell to hit anybody but we were. It did hit, next one come over, it hit right in breast where the room I was in. And the building got full of smoke and dust and everything. It's a long building, 2 stories. Anyway, I remember what they had for dinner that day, but I couldn't eat nothing. I was hungry. I didn't feel like eating, just had to get moons in the morning and after losing a lot of blood. And so they had cabbage and bully beef for dinner. And anyway, that was on the 23rd of December. And it was Christmas Eve. They start, Percy knows already who got killed over there. Percy come in, he was on the ambulance. Percy come in, and he said, "Boy," he says, "we only a few more days and we'll be all over because we got reinforcements coming in." And there was no way for reinforcements to get into Hong Kong. But they had nothing there. We had nothing there. All we had there was a few machine guns and never had anything. I don't know what they sent us over there for. Anyway, that was a Christmas Eve, and then they started the big drive for Stanley. Now, this hospital was in Stanley. And to get from Hong Kong, the city of Hong Kong, you had to go across a nickel land to get into Stanley. And they had one gun there for the sea. One gun. An artillery gun. And anyway, all night they were fighting. Bullets come through the windows and went to stuck in the ceilings up in the building. And we lost a lot of them in there, and the Japs lost more. Anyway, in the morning, just as dawn, they got in the hospital.
That was Christmas Day.
That was on Christmas Day. Yeah. They got in the hospital. And of course, when they come in, first, there was a couple of doctors and orderlies, and the head doctor was there. He said, "Now I'll go to the door when he comes and tell him there's a hospital." So he went to the door, and another doctor, and so many more. And while he was telling them that the hospital, another Jap reached over and shot him, and killed the 2 doctors and orderlies. And they came in, and the nurse, one of the nurses was there, grabbed the Red Cross flag, and trying to quiet down a little bit. I was up on the 6th story. Now then, they took everything that everybody had, like watches, rings, and everything like that. They took everything from them. And they put us, I was in a room, well, it was on, I dare say, maybe 12 by 10 or 12 by 14 or something. It was only a small room. They put 56 of us in a room like that. There wasn't room enough for everybody to sit down or lie down. We had some fellas that were seriously wounded. And anyway, so many would stand up so long, and then when they get tired, they would sit down, and so many more. And that was on Christmas Day, and we had nothing to drink, and nothing like that. Until in the evening, we had a Hong Kong volunteer there who could speak a bit of Japanese. And he asked him for some water to drink. Anyway, he brought in a tub, like an old washing tub. And the water looked like there was a 10 pairs of socks washed out into it. Anyway, we didn't mind long as it was water. And there was an English naval officer there, and he shared it, give so much to each one, I mean a small lot, because he got ass, he was so thirsty. And I seen fellas' lips, so white as snow. And we had a bucket, a whole bucket there, a urine bucket. And I seen fellas dip their fingers in the urine bucket and with their lips, parched dry, no water. Anyway, we were there, that was Christmas Day, all Christmas Day. And all the next day, we were there in that room. And we was expecting that something was going to happen, that they were going to throw a hand grenade in the room or something like that. And they had made up now, the hand grenade comes to the window, comes in, grab him through the window. Anyway, that didn't happen. And the 27th, they decided that they were going to move us up to Hong Kong Bone Road Hospital. That was the main hospital. And I remember when they come in, they let us out first, we could wander around the building, eh? And if you see that building, blood on the walls, and blood on the floor. Now, I'm finally hitting my story here. On Christmas night, they took out 3 nurses, and they tortured them, they raped them all night and tortured them to death in the morning. And there was a British officer there who had his wife was a nurse. And he asked the Japanese officer if he could see his wife. So he said yes. So he took him out, and there was his wife on the pile of bodies. His wife was one of the ones that they tortured to death. Anyway, it was some sight, that hospital, it was some sight. The book, I got the book with the picture and all in it now. It's called The Siege of Hong Kong. So I loaned it to one of the girls there to read, and I loaned it to one of the watchmen there, and he said it was the most interesting book I ever read. And he couldn't believe that we went through what the book says. Anyway, the 27th, they decided to move us up to the main hospital. And I remember all I had was a pajama top. That was all, a jacket. So I wrapped a whole blanket around myself and got on the truck. And on the way up to the hospital, there was piles of bodies on each side of the road, Japs and Chinamen and everything, piled up like old stumps. Anyway, I got up to the hospital. After having nothing to eat and nothing to drink, they give us a sardine sandwich and a cup of tea. And I don't suppose there was anything tastes a good sense that that sardine sandwich tastes. Being so hungry and thirsty. So I was there in the hospital until the last of April. But it was even worse in the hospital than it was out to the camp at that time, because in what they called the North Point prison camp, it was a dirty old place. But they was coming in and saying about the rashes they were getting out there. They were getting better than we were getting in the hospital, because there was some stuff, see, it was belonged to us, bully beef and stuff like that. The Jets were rations out to them. And probably that was all he had to give them anyway, because they probably didn't have no rations themselves in there at that time. Anyway, the last of April, I would have been in the hospital longer, but I kept on with getting out to the prison, into camp. And when the fellow would come in, I would ask him about Percy Noseworthy and Fred Drover and Doug Reeves and Newfoundland. And they said that Fred Drover, he got killed. And Percy Noseworthy was in the camp and all this. So anyway, when I went out to the camp, expecting to see Percy Noseworthy and not Fred Drover, and the first one I saw was Fred Drover. So Fred come up talking to me, and I said, where's Percy? And he said, Percy got killed away. Well, I said, that's what they told me about you. They told me you were dead. Well, this is where the mistake was. You see, they just took Percy for Fred, you know. Anyway, we were there in the camp. Well, it was North Point Prison Camp. It was dirty and smelled. It was a place where they used to keep horses. And this is what they done, they turned it into a prison camp. See? And boy, it was just, it couldn't keep fit to keep horses. Anyway, we were there. That was in April, and we were there all the summer. And we used to go across to the mainland working on the airport. And trying to extend the airport, digging away gravel and on the way in carts and all this. And they used to give us a half a cup of sweet peas for dinner. That's what they used to give us. And the boys used to like to go over there. We got something different than a whole bit of rice. Anyway, in the fall, they moved us over to Shamshapo, over to our own barracks. There was nothing left. Windows and all was gone. Doors was gone. There was nothing left, only just the buildings, just a shop. And we were there, well, during the fall, and then there was an epidemic of diphtheria. And there was a lot of boys died with diphtheria, and I was a diphtheria carrier, which was lucky, because if I wouldn't take it, but I give it to somebody else. And there was about a dozen of us like that. And they took us and pounded us off. And we say, this is like a pound off for 5 or 6 dollars, eh? Put us in there, we had to stay there, and they come and couldn't bring out our bit of rice, pushed it under the gate to us. And after so many days, I don't remember how many days now, they let us out of that. And it was like to our barracks again. So we were there till the 19th of January, 43. And a little bit of my story with it. That hospital that I was in first, that was the most brutal place that I was in during prison term. Because they tortured men, they took them out and tortured them to death. And the 3 nurses. Now there was a British nurse told us after. She was a nurse in the First World War, but she wasn't very young, was she?
No.
And she's telling us one night, come in and sat down where we were, and she was telling us about what they done with her. She said, they took me out, she said, and made me take off all my clothes. And when I took off my clothes, they said I was too old. And she said, that's the only thing saved me. And she said, they told me to put on my clothes again, and I put it on. That was what you call the slaughterhouse, that hospital on the Christmas night to the 26th. Slaughter, torture. I don't know how many men they tortured. They took us some of our Canadian boys and tortured them to death. Anyway.
What would they do with them?
They done everything with them.
Yeah? Burned them with cigarettes, I suppose?
They cut off their ears, their tongues, and put in their mouth, and
yeah.
And just something awful. That was an awful place. And you didn't know when they were coming in, as pick somebody and say, come on. You know, he was there when the door, so every time the door come open, you just look out for somebody to be taken out. Anyway, they were going to take us up to Japan now, the 19th of January. I remember it so well. We had no clothes, no warm clothes or nothing like that, but they give us an old jacket, an old pair of pants, and they give us a pair of brown sneakers. And we went up to Yokohama. That's the first place we went. We went there and we were in a camp there. There was no barracks built. There were no floors and nothing like that, or no heat and nothing like that. And we were there for 26 months, working out to a shipyard. And it was put in a certain game. And I remember I was in what they called the finishing game. There was 26 or 30 of us. And you get a half a holiday every 10 days. And they paid, what the payment was, 6 cigarettes for 5 days' work. That was the payment we got. And we go to work every morning, work all day, and we used to be on steel, on a four-wheel carts. They load up this one with steel, and they had cobblestones out around the water to pair. And that was some hard. First an old car, we're doing 4 cobblestones. Anyway, when we come in the barracks, we'd be, you know, everybody, lots of us see a man passing out on the working party, you know, with hunger. And we get back to barracks and we would be some tired by. And not only tired, exhausted, starved to death. The last winter, in the winter of 45, first part of it, I was down to 90 pounds. And I was 3 months and would hardly stand up. And in the spring, coming on towards the spring, you get an early spring over there, so you get no snow where we were. And I remember our regimental sergeant major, Shaw, his name was. Well, he said, "Durdle, boy, I never expect you'll be living today." I said, "No." And I said, "I'm still living." And anyway, when I couldn't go on a working party, they give me, I had to go and they had a jacket eater that used to eat the water for the Japs. And they used to take me over there and sit me down and put in the coal, and I would fire this jacket eater and eat the water for them. Now, I was there, when I was there, it was on the back of the kitchen where they used to cook the rice. And when they cooked the rice, it was always burned on the bottom, And the cooks used to scrape it off, bring it out and give it to me. And I had a fellow by the name of Jerry Myers sleeping next to me. And I was always trying to save it for Jerry, see? Jerry is dead now. And anyway, after I got a little better and was able to walk around that, they couldn't send me out on the working party again. And went on, we used to have raids, air raids, and bombings. I remember one night they come over and they sat for right to our body, right around, just the same they knew where the body was there, And made us clean out the bodies, a bit of waste we had, and I was carried out in the field. They thought sure that the camp was going to be bombed, So, on the 10th of March, that year, they had what they call Jimmy Doolittle's raid. I don't know if you ever heard of it, where they bombed so much, Now I went through Tokyo when she wasn't touched. The Japs said, who they used to keep the rice to, used to go with the month's ration, see? And I was on the truck twice that went out there. And this time, the second time I went out, it was after this big bombing raid. And, well, there was a square, and there was water fountains. That's all I found out where we were. There was one big water fountain, there were so many small ones around it. And the only one was standing there was just one water fountain, all the rest were gone, And bombed, you see a scattered smokestack sticking up. It was all little, they said that they bombed, they cleared 10 square miles that time. That was the big air raid. Anyway, they went on working and punching it in, and so this day, we, on the working party, they transferred us then out of this barracks into another one. And where they transferred us to was in a railway centre. One day you'll be out loading coal, the next day you'll be out on the rice platform, out loading rice and beans and peas and one thing and the other. And some other day you'll be on loading pig iron. Everybody would want to get on the rice platform, see, but they get a bit of rice and bring it in their boots in the camp and cook it. Anyway, this day we were on the working party, and we had the Japs there, the guys, they used to wear a band on their arm like a 7 bottom up. And we used to call them 7-ups. And we had names on them, all right? We had one fellow named the Walrus, and another fellow named Greasy, and another fellow named Mushmouth, and another fellow named Scoring Blue. They used to wear a pair of blue pants, And he could speak a bit of English, So he said, no work this afternoon. Anyway, we went in the barracks and we wasn't there no time for they were singing out to us. Now, Japanese called work, so she go. Anyway, we fell in to go to work. And on our way out, this Jap that we used to call us going Blue, he was walking along and he said to one of the men, he said, "Since O-R-E," well, that means the war was over, And he swore on him, we couldn't believe nothing like that. Anyway, we went on the working party and started working. It was only working about, I suppose, 15 or 20 minutes where they come to hollering and gathering us all up again to come into the barracks. Anyway, telling us that the war was over. And we just were near it, just near it, the war over. And into the barracks, and they were saying, well, there's something going on. There must be an invasion. They're going to move us and stuff like this, see? Anyway, the Japanese officer that was in charge of the camp, we had an American with us too. Got an American officer into his office. And when he come out, now he said, men, we all gathered around to see what he had to say. Now he said, man, I want everybody to be a man. Don't do nothing that you want to do and stuff like this, see? So he said, the war ends today at 12 o'clock. Well, that's all he got to say, eh? That's all he got to say. Nobody, he couldn't believe it. They say, there was fellas sitting down, not saying a word. There was fellas crying, and there was fellas with their arms around one another, and we still wouldn't believe it, eh? Anyway, we started to move outside. Because in the whole building that we were in, there was no flooring or nothing like that. And it stinked. There was fleas and lice and everything else, eh? Moved outside. And anyway, the Japs had 2 pigs in the camp that they were keeping for themselves. 2 pigs they were going to raise for themselves, eh? So the next morning we had a Swede. There was a Swede with us. He got the knife, got in the pound and pushed it to him. Now then, the Japs didn't want to eat it for 24 hours. And they didn't, but the next day they cooked a big feed, a big stew. And we all eat, you know, not having nothing greasy or nothing like that, boy, and we all took diarrhea. Every man in the camp had like died. Diarrhea and a big feed of pork stew. And then the Americans came over and dropped leaflets, you know. I wanted to know what we was in need of. And they got up on the roof of the building. I don't know where they got the can of red paint to. And painted on the roof chow. That's all they had on the roof. And they come over and they dropped all kinds of food. And they dropped everything, in fact. They dropped everything from a needle to whatever you want. Clothes, shoes, boots, razor blades, shaving cream, toothpaste, toothbrushes, everything you want. We had enough dropped to do us for some time. And anyway, in the afternoon we were picking up the stuff. And there was a Japanese was all ours stopped beside the road, and the old ours was all nothing on the bones sticking out through everywhere. We had to load it up with ours and brought it into the camp. And anyway, when we brought it in, made him take off his clothes. And he got frightened to death, didn't know what we were going to do with him. Took off his clothes and fit him out. Fit him right up from top to bottom. Shoes, clothes, oh my, he didn't know, he couldn't believe it, eh? Couldn't believe it. And they dropped us everything we needed. Everything, chocolate bars, and we loaded up a truck in the morning and went out to the streets of Tokyo, throwing it out on the sidewalk, eh? Cases of cane stuff. Yeah. And the Jets were there, knocking each one another down, trying to get it, eh? Now that's the story about the president. That's only a sketch here and there, eh? If I had to tell a lot, and I forget a lot of it now.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
I forget a lot of it now.
Yeah.
But the worst place that ever I was in, during the prison term, was in that hospital.
Yeah. And were there any Japanese among them, the guards, and that would be more human than the others, you know?
Well, I tell you, if you get a young guard, young fellas, just come back, just coming into the service, and just doing guard duty. If you get a young guard, he was in for a hard time.
Yeah.
But if you get a guard that was into action and got wounded and come back to Japan and doing guard duty, they weren't half so bad. Huh. They weren't half so bad. But the young fellas, they beat you for nothing, eh?
Yeah.
You kick you, you know.
Yeah.
And,
yeah.
If you didn't bow to them and every such thing as this, you know, they could just come along and get you out with their boot.
Yeah.
And that was, there was people who had pretty sore legs who know how to go and kicks.
Yes.
And I saw them get a lot of beating too, you know, a lot of beatings. I remember we was on when we went to Japan first, there was 500 of us, eh? And they put 50 men in a section. And the sergeant was in charge of that section. And he had, when the Japs come around now, they give us from about dinner time until in the evening to learn how to count in Japanese. Well, if you could count up to 10 in Japanese, you know, you can go on. because there's only like, chunky Japanese is like, Ichi ni, Sanchi, Go, Rakusichi, Yachiku, Jew. Now Jew was 10, eh? And you come to Jew, 11, you say Jewishi. See? And there's no so long you can call it 10. You can go on and now they got to put the Jew onto it. And now the sergeant had the hardest problem because he had to tell Jeff how many men he had in bed. See? So if he had 2 men in the bed, he said, Nime, Bioki, Chinyu. See? That 2 men were sick and they were in bed. So they had to learn this, eh?
Sure.
And everyone started to learn their number, you know, when you line up, you get the number for the night, the roll call. And I remember we had a French fellow, Guy Sard used to go, and his number was Sanjuichi, that was 31, see? And when you come to his number, he forgot it. Well, everybody else now, they were all put out because he was wrong, you know, and he didn't know his number and they did one. Anyway, got through the first one. And after the war finished, when the war finished, we had roll call in English, and we couldn't come in English. We used to chunk in Japanese, you know. And Japanese language is not hard to learn because there's a lot of words, like an English word, eh? And we picked up a lot of it. And we was able to carry on conversation with the Jap, you know, take the time, you had to take the time. You couldn't run what off like they could. But with them, see, by so long, and, you know, we picked up a lot.
And after, you were there, how many days were you a prisoner?
How many days?
Yes.
I was prisoner 1,344 days.
1,340?
Yeah, 44.
Well, how did you treat the Japanese guards after the war was over? Did you just go on living as, you know?
Oh, when the war was over, I don't know, I just, you know, I just forgot it, like, you know.
Yes.
They didn't go beating up the Japs or nothing like that.
No,
or nothing like that,
no,
you know.
No.
Or nothing like that.
No, but you had every reason to do it.
Oh, I had every reason in the world, but see,
Yeah.
like we were told by our officers,
Sure, yeah.
not to do anything like that,
Yeah.
you know, and I don't know what they thought of it, the Japs, you know.
No.
Now, when the war finished, they doubled the guards, not for the guard about us going out. They didn't know what the civilians were going to do.
No.
See?
Mm.
And there was fellas there out the first night. He was out. I remember we had an English fella, an Englishman, Younger Jim used to call him. He was a big man. I used to tell him one day, "Oh, you come and call you Younger Jim." Well, he said, "Boy, my father," he said, "was a mountain fighter."
Yeah.
And he said, "Fight up in the mountains." And but he was the best kind of man, the older man I was. But Younger Jim, if I can picture him now, he had 2 names on him. I didn't tell you about the time they broke the ball. I'm just going to back on the story.
Sure, yeah.
They had a bowl in the kitchen, see, a white bowl, and it got broken. And of course, in the section, there was 3 men would go and get the rations. Well, out of 10 sections, that was 30 men, wasn't it? Yeah, yeah. And this bowl got broken, and the Jap wanted to know who broke it. And they blamed one of the fellas that was carrying the rations going and washing out the bucket, see? Anyway, lined us up to tell who broke the bowl. And nobody said they didn't know nothing to about it. Well, they had a fella there, a sergeant, Pete the Tramp, they used to call him, and he was a tramp too, but he never looked like anybody was dressed, you know. And he said, if you don't tell who broke it, there's no breakfast for the camp tomorrow morning. You go on a working party with no breakfast. So he said, now I'll give you 10 minutes. He could talk English. I'll give you 10 minutes now, he said, to decide. So we left it and went on. And he said, the father morning, he said, now boys, if anybody knows anything about it, only a lot of camp suffer for one man, you know. Tell. No, nobody knew anything about it. So after 10 minutes he come back. With a snigger. Now he wears a shoe, a snigger I call it. The big toe wears in one part, and the other toe wears in another part. He come with one of them over the ears. So he asked us, you know, no one knows about it. Okay, he said, lined up. Now there was fellas there that you had to get a box and stand up on, eh? Because he's only a short thing. And he take that shoe over the hill, and he whack you across one side, and then he whack down the other. And boy, I tell you, when that shoe hit your face, you think the side of your head was gone. And he done that with us all. And those fellas had to get the box to stand up on, now they don't. And there was a fella there by the name of Pet Metallic. He was an Indian. And he used to fight, he was a fighter. And he said, oh my, he said, I feel like he said, drawn off and give it to him and putting, but you see, well, he couldn't do that,
No,
you know. It's only just asking for trouble.
Yes.
Because they had the command, they had their rifles and
Yeah.
and we had nothing. Anyway, I seen fellas were like getting some beatings. I know we had a fellow there to the name of Sergeant West, his name was. And he had a pair of boots. And he sold the boots to a Japanese. I don't know where the cigarettes or what it was for. Anyhow, they seen the Jap with those boots on, and they wanted to know where they got them to. When he said where he got them from, and then they gave him the beating. I would see him bring him out in the morning, and they beat him till he fall down, and then they kick him. And they done that with him for so many mornings. Then they took him and carried him to a military prison. And when he come back, he was in a deal. He didn't know like he did doing nothing. He was just like the animal, like he didn't know nothing. But he lived and come home. Yeah.
And who were the first to come into your camp when they surrendered, when the Japanese
Americans.
surrendered? The Americans.
Americans, yeah.
Yeah.
The Americans come into camp. Now the last camp we were in, were on in a canal. There was a canal come up along by the camp, see? And all our camp was along the Nickel Lane like that. And the canal come up this way, and this way, and this way, and all that, like down Nickel Lane. Anyway, they come in the morning, in landing barges. And the first ones they took out, I believe it was the Americans and the English. I just forget now anyway, doesn't matter. I know we were the second ones, the last ones to go out. Yeah, on this landing barge to go out and take us out to the hospital ship, Hospital ship was anchored out in Tokyo Bay. And they took us out there and put us on board, and they lowered on the stretchers. She was there with a big, huge thing, see? And that was our first trip as a hospital ship while she was on board. Anyway, take up 2 minutes at a time. And going out, those landing barges, you see, they wouldn't rise up over the lap, over the sea, and they went right through it, And we were like drowned rats when we got out.
Yes.
Got on board that one. And we were questioned, and taken and given all clean clothes. And then we going down to the dining room. And boy, talk about a dining room. There was white tablecloths on and the flowers on it. We wouldn't know we went to an hotel, And boys ordered the big meals, and they found out that they couldn't eat quarter of it. Because our stomachs were stuck up, We couldn't take no food. No. And we were there on that road that one overnight. And the next day, they put us on board of the aircraft carrier, the Speaker, British aircraft carrier, and took us down to Manila. Now, Newfoundland gave what was the Newfoundland? A Corvette, wasn't there something there during the war?
Yeah,
Newfoundland it was called,
Yes, the Newfoundland, yeah.
She was in Tokyo Bay, we passed right along by her.
Yeah.
When we were coming and leaving, to go down to Manila. I think it was 6 days, we were on our way down there to Manila. And we were down in Manila, and we were there for about 13 or 14 days. And hot. That was in September. Yeah, 29 August we left Tokyo, Japan. And that was in September. Boy, I tell you, it was so hot. Sticky. And we were there for 12 or 13 days, and they put us on board a ship called President Roosevelt, Joseph T. Dickman. I don't know now where her name was President Roosevelt, and they changed it to Joseph T. Dickman, or it was Dickman, and they changed it to President Roosevelt. Now, I don't know. Anyway, she was a big ship, for 18,000 tons, And we was 24 days from Manila to San Francisco. You were very tall at the Golden Gate.
Yes.
Well, the boys started talking.
The Golden Gate
Golden
Bridge.
Gate, yeah.
Yes, you carry on.
Well, we was days and days, didn't see nothing, land or nothing like that coming across. And in the Pacific, every night it rains. Every night it rains. And I remember this morning when somebody went around and come down and said they saw land. And of course, from a lot what was in sight. And we passed through and went up to the Golden Gate. I dare say it was maybe 11 or 12 o'clock in the day. And to look at the Golden Gate from a distance, you wouldn't say that what we call a dory going under it. You know, but it was a huge eye when you come to it closer. And there was a band, 2 bands come over, one on each side. And when we went through the gate, ship passed through the Golden Gate, and when she turned to go up the harbour, there was a large sign, and the sign read, "Welcome home, well done." And we went up to the harbour and went up to the pier and got landed. And we landed there, and they took us to a place, the Salvation Army run it, the Cardinal Sally Ann. And we had to get on a boat, the ferry boat, to go to it. And we passed right along by Alcatraz. We were almost 12 stone on, right? That was the prison.
Yeah.
And we went up to this place, and it was run by the Army, and for supper. And boy, you talk about everything just the same as an hotel, eh? And it was a huge place too. Well, had our supper, and then we was taken from that on the boat again and taken to the railway station. And we got on board the train. And we were on the train. Now, at them times, civilians had a job to get transportation, eh? Because the troops. See, the troops got the preference and over everything, see, like at them times. And we traveled up through the state of Washington, and we landed we got off at Seattle. Got off at Seattle, and we were there for 24 hours in a barracks there, and there was a lot of German prisoners there. They had a lot of German prisoners there. That was the ones that they had cooking, and they cleaning, you know, keeping everything clean, the barracks. Anyway, we were there for 24 hours. The next day, and the next evening, we got on the train. We're not. See, I got on the boat. Got on the boat, and we were taken to Victoria. And Victoria is about 8 hours from Seattle, and same thing from Vancouver. And we landed in Victoria. And Victoria is a beautiful place, beautiful city. And we were there 4 days. And we got our own uniforms, and we got everything, and then we got our leave. And they give us $100. $100 for leave money. The $100 wouldn't go pretty far a day, would it?
No.
No. And $100 a lot of money,
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, got on the train, took us to from Victoria to Vancouver. And we got on the train in Vancouver. Now, when we were going over, we went CNR. And they said the CPR was a bit of scenery in the Rockies, eh? So, I come CPR. And I believe it was 3 or 4 days from Vancouver to Montreal. And my brother was living in Montreal then. And I got out in Montreal and stayed to his place for a couple of 3 days. Then I came home. And Fred Grover, last time I saw Fred was in January when we left downtown. In 19th of January in 43. And not thinking about Fred Grover. And this fella from Trinity, he was in the Army, Canadian Army. He after getting his discharge and coming home. And maybe you know him, they had a business there in Trinity. Anyway, the name doesn't matter now. He said, let's go down to the hotel, see if we can get breakfast. I went down and them times, he said, well, the old fellow was out putting the fire in the stove in the hall. I asked him, is there any chance of getting any breakfast? Yes, he said, well, where's the fire going now, he said. So we went back up to the station again. And when we thought it was time to go down, we went down. And first one I saw was Fred Grover. Because his brother was in Claremont at that time, had a business there, see? And he was out there for some few days. That was the first time I saw him. And you know, the real reunions. You know,
Sure,
then?
sure, yeah. Now, we realize that you couldn't remember. There's a lot of things you've forgotten, naturally, after so many years. And I suppose there are a lot of things that you want to forget, you don't want to talk about, really. But I'd like to get your reaction now. This happens to be around 40 years after you were released in that.
That's right.
And I'd like to get your reaction, how you feel about the Japanese race today. They treated you, you know, in a bad way when they had you. Do you have any bad feelings about them, or have you learned to forget over the years?
No, boy.
You don't have any bad feelings?
I tell you, Bert, boy. To be a Christian, you can't have any bad feeling, right?
No, well, I expected you to say that. That's the reason why I asked you.
You know, you can't, the Bible tells us on that we should love one another.
Yes.
And that's the way I feel about it, eh?
Yes.
I couldn't, you know, hate a Jap now because it was war times, and I just couldn't hate him enough that I would knife him or anything like that.
No, no.
Now, you got to look over it now, you know.
Yeah, well, if you had that in your heart now, I suppose you'd be almost as bad as they were, wouldn't you?
That's right. Now, the Bible tells us that we got to love our neighbor as ourselves, eh?
Yes. Not easy to do sometimes.
Not easy
but-
to do sometimes. And no, I don't hate the Japs today as far as hating them that much that
No.
I would do them harm.
No.
Eh? No. I know it was pretty hard at the time of the war. And when we was in prison camp, they said, boy, if I get out, and everybody gets a chance, you know, and what you would do with
Yeah,
a Jap and
Yeah.
all that, you know.
yeah,
But they were cruel. There's no doubt about it. They were cruel, and they done cruel things, eh, with the prisoners. And when the war finished, I believe, you know, everybody had the feeling something like that now, eh? You know, that they wouldn't turn around and knife a Jap, or they wouldn't turn around and, you know, and shoot them or anything like that. And I think that made the Jap look around himself too, you know,
yes.
to see how bad they treat us. And then when the war was over, you know, we just didn't take it out on them.
No,
You know, we could have took it out on them, yes,
sure.
but we didn't.
Mm.
I know, right now, you know, if a Jap come in here now, I try and make him so friendly and comfortable as anybody else. Eh?
Yeah, yeah,
And that's how I feel about it.
yeah. Well, I want to thank you, Bob, because for going back over the years and that, I think you've covered a lot of what we needed in that, and we certainly appreciate it. And once again, thank you very much.
There's just what I skipped over, and lots of things I wouldn't put on tape. Eh?
Sure. Yeah.
And so there's things I could tell you. I wouldn't want to put on tape.
No, no.
You know, things I saw down
Yes,
and things
yeah.
and this and that, and things like this. Got a lot of our boys
Yes.
that tortured, you know,
Yes.
we took no prisoners until the war was really over. They catch them, they count them, and they pain them and torture them a bit that way. You know?
Yes, yeah.
But I suppose on the other side, maybe it was something too, you know, they
Yeah.
don't know nothing about it.
No.
You know.
No. Well, thank you very much. I should say my name is Bert Dunn of Bonavista, Newfoundland, and I am taping this at the Golden Heights Manor Senior Citizens Home, where Mr. Durdle is a resident.